Hello everybody, welcome to my channel again. My name is Chichuka Ipere, the in-between culture mama. So, in between cultures, let's call every mishap, let us just call my stories IBC moments. So when I say IBC moments, I want you to understand that I'm talking about, where differences in cultures happened for me, okay? Or for any other story or any other person that I share their story out on here, okay? So my today's video is focusing on food. Before we got here, people in the abroad, people overseas were giving us tips about what to do, what to get, what to come with. So my husband's cousin gave us really the best tips that we ever got. So, by that time, around that time, okay, we were entitled to 2 luggages, okay? So he suggested to us to put our clothes in one and put foodstuff in one. And as a family of 6, we had 6 bags of food and 6 bags of clothing. So one of the tips that they gave my husband was, any outfit that you will not wear here, or you will find here, or you can buy here, don't bother bringing them. Well, it worked a little bit, but then we had a little glitches and some glitches and some regrets, things we wish we had brought. For instance, my husband probably gave away or sold his suits, the suits he used to go to work. I wish he kept one, even if it's just one, because eventually, to purchase the kind of suit that he liked wasn't easy here. The fashion was quite different, and Niger people know how to kid very well. But when you look at American suits in those days, they were a little off fashion when you compare them to what, Italian suits, European suits were that they wore back home. It's just a matter of taste, okay? When you stay here more, you begin to get used to what you have here. So, but that was one of the things he regretted bringing. For one, I regretted bringing small kitchen utensils, okay? There's this my blender, one small grinder I used to grind pepper. I gave it away. I wish I brought it. Then there were other things. My children's storybooks, I had some books that they used to sell in my children's schools, activity books that had some crossword puzzles, coloring, just art, crafts and all that. That book, I wish I brought it, but I gave it away. Okay, so I'm coming to food. When we were preparing the foods that we brought, we were doing a lot of drying. We buy this, we dry it, we package it. We're busy doing, packaging foods. One thing we never tried in Nigeria, to taste what those foods tasted like. I don't know if I'm making sense. In Nigeria, the only food I can remember that we used to buy dried is something like egusi, right? But before coming to the US, I had never eaten dried vegetables before. Even bitter leaf, onubu. I have never tasted dried onubu. So I had some surprises. I'll call them surprises because we took for granted the taste of the foods we ate back home when we came here, okay? So we prided ourselves that we brought enough food that will last us forever. However, begin to make the food now. Let us see. A simple thing like cocoyam, ede, we call it ede in my language, cocoyam. To use dry cocoyam for us, I don't know whether we didn't prepare it well or I just cannot tell. It just tasted different for me. When we got to the place where we stayed, I ate the soup. You know what it means to cook soup without palm oil? You now have to use bell pepper, like tatashe kind of pepper. Remember, this tatashe is different too. You can just eat it without feeling the pepper. So our own tatashe is stronger. Even when you remove the seed, it still has pepper taste on the back of the pepper. But this one is pepper you can take without drinking water. With that, we make stew. Then you use it and now cook soup, pretending that it's palm oil. The first time I ate that, and I was asking myself, is this vegetable mixed with stew? It was hard for me. I remember coming from Nigeria, I had not learned how to eat any American food. I had not learned how to even purchase them. We have zero clue about how to purchase those foods and all that. So we started to eat. To be frank, if I check in my freezer now, I might still find some of the things I brought since 2005 that I have not been able to eat, digest. We had vegetables that we tried out. How do you manage, let's say, okazi? The worst one, ugu and oha. If you take dried ugu or dried oha, you will not like yourself again. Now, we're talking about those ones. You know, when we came, we didn't really think about African stores right away. And they were not that popular. Even if they were, to be frank, they were not really run. The ones we eventually saw were run by either Asians or Ghanaians. We didn't really see a lot of African stores run by Nigerian people in those days. Okay? So, no, it's not even about Nigerians running it, but you know, you go into those stores, you're opening your eyes to look for things that are close to what you used to know. And to be frank, I'm here to share with you all the fails, most of the fails that we experienced, okay? So, like I said, you know, cooking that soup with what I had was hard for me. We were eating those things, but it was like swallowing. Now, think about what type of swallow were we even using. We brought small gari, but before you know it, the gari finished. How long are you going to eat gari that is not even up to one paint bucket? So now we had to start looking for things that look like gari. One that I know that people really used to digest or eat those days that was not good for our African health was biscuit. You know, using pancake mix, you know, flour to make something that looks like gari. My auntie that came before me was the one that told me that could this be the reason why many of them became diabetic? Because they were there swallowing biscuit as eba. You know, people who grew up swallowing eba once a day, then you come in somewhere you can't even find the foods you eat. So I ate biscuit a little bit, but not in our house. My brother worked for a food company at that point. So he was able to get wheat flour, rice flour. We could get those in the house, okay? And yeah, so we were using those to make eba, and cheese body was not accepting those things. I would eat them, I'll start feeling funny. You know, after a while, we eventually found eba. Then we tried semo. You know, the texture was nice. We also found pounded yam in those African stores we discovered, okay? The texture was good, but now, the feeling after eating, I just did not like it. But over the years, I found that probably I was gluten intolerant, okay? But I know we downed a lot of bad foods. Then we started adjusting to eating American food. One of the first American foods my brother ordered was pizza. You know, ordering pizza into the house, to be frank, let me not lie. I don't come from the village. I grew up in towns in Nigeria, but that was my first day of seeing and eating pizza. It was not easy to really, you know, get used to it. Like the first day wasn't that fun, but you have to keep quiet now so that you will not disgrace yourself, right? That you are from the villa, right? So, but over time we started getting used to them. And then, you know, how the people we came to stay in their homes wanted to give us a treat, wanted to give us a nice time. They will buy grocery, buy like delicious things. We had fruit juice, a lot of things that were processed foods, that were not what we were used to eating when we were back home. Over the years, yeah, my brother, like I said, he worked in a good food company. We always had their cereal in the house. So we're downing those cereals. We're not even looking. We're not thinking, like, how many times have you eaten this? How many more will you eat? We're just eating them. Colored water. What's the name of that? Kool-Aid, stuff like that, trying to be Americanized. Then you come to eating the Niger food we had. Those vegetables, my dear, I just could not. I mean, we tried. You cook it, you don't know what it's tasting like. Then the meat, there was a marked difference in taste in meats, especially when you buy store-bought meat, like Walmart. You go and buy meat from the meat aisle, or you buy chicken. It was tasteless. You keep adding Maggi, adding bouillon cubes, and you still don't get the taste of the meat. It took a while to adjust, let me not lie. So, but over time, like before we even, all these stories are before we found the African stores. Then with time we now found African stores, and then my brother also found like farmers market, where we used to go and probably buy tomatoes and those bell peppers we used to make stews. Then what else? At that time, the food fad then was fat-free, sugar-free, fat-free. But we didn't realize that fat-free still was not healthy, because to take away fat, you have to put something to substitute for it. To take away sugar, you still had to use artificial sweeteners to sweeten the things. They made them sound as if they were healthy. I'm not sure they were actually healthy, right? So that's why sometimes you see somebody who was very slender back home. When they come here, before you know it, overnight, they have put on excessive weight. So at that time too, the diet then was whole grain. You want to eat whole grain for everything. You believe whole grain is healthy. Whole grain could be healthy for some people, but for us, who our primitive food, me coming from Eastern Nigeria, our body is not naturally and biologically tuned to grains. If you offer grains to people from the north, maybe they will be okay, because most of their foods are grains. Most of our foods were roots. Yam, cassava, cocoyam, things that you dig up from the ground to eat, and then you make soups. Even though we reared animals like goats and chickens, we didn't make milk out of our goats. We just ate the meat. We didn't, milk our goats. Milk was not part of our biological, how do I call it, diet. So in Nigeria, mostly we're drinking powdered milk. And when you process milk to the powdered form, the heat and everything they used to dry it out will deal with the lactose. So it's not really affecting you. But here, we came over here and we saw milk in bottles, in cans, in kegs, liquid milk. So that adjustment too. If you're not used to drinking that kind of milk, your body will also react before it gets used to it. So that's what I'm trying to say. I had to step into the market to start looking for substitutes. The first thing that satisfied me actually that I found in the market was okra. The moment I found that I could find even frozen okra or even raw okra, I became excited. I started looking for green vegetables that looked like, ugu or water leaf. So the substitute I found, spinach became my water leaf in this place. Ugu, kale. Then there's this other one. I forgot the name of that vegetable. I haven't used it in a long while, but I had to go through a bunch of green-looking vegetables for a long time before I settled with kale. So Collard green was one of them. Collard green. And you try it, you get the taste. If the taste is just too off, you drop it. Sometimes I will buy that collard green, cook it, try to squeeze off the taste first before I start to cook with it. But over time, I just settled for spinach. But then when I started looking for vegetables that had fiber, what I mean by fiber, like, that is not just soft, like water leaf or spinach. That was when I now started upgrading to kale, because I just felt that certain things concerning our body, for instance, okazi, I didn't find any vegetable as tough as okazi, and okazi is very important. The reason I say that is that of all the children I had in Nigeria, my water never broke at home. Never, not for once. My water never broke. So what I mean is that when I labor, they actually have to rupture my bag before the baby comes out. And I can remember vividly when I was having my third kid, they were trying to rupture that bag. It was hard. The nurse actually fit her hand to rupture it. She had to put in power into that task. But for the kid I had here, even before labor kicked in, my water had broken. So I was like, wow, could it be the kind of foods we eat back home versus here? Another food that will really surprise you that there is a marked difference is banana. There's a marked difference from between the taste of banana here versus what our banana tasted back home. Even my daughter came to me, my daughter, I had her in Nigeria. She actually went back to Nigeria at some point for 2 years and came back again. And she was like, Mommy, have you ever wondered why I don't eat banana in the house? I said, no. I said, but we buy organic. She said, yes. Even though it's organic, it's still nothing close to the banana we eat back home. So for me not to annoy myself, like when I put this, expecting the taste of what I knew, and then it's tasting something else, I just, cut it off. So she has not been eating banana. I thought it was just me, I used to be a picky eater when I was a kid. So I was thinking, for me to be noticing all these things, it was just a me or a picky eater's point of view. All right, another one is peanuts, groundnuts. Our Niger groundnut is next. There's no other like it. No other substitute to Niger groundnut. Hey, that is it. You go to the store, you see peanuts, you rush it, you taste it, you don't know what you are eating. Thank God for Niger stores. That's why when they put those bottles of groundnut there, they will tag them $10. We don't do conversion anymore. You just want that feeling, something close to what we used to eat back home. You go there and rush it and eat. And I also want to say a huge thank you to African stores. You guys, at least, if for nothing else, you helped us to bring back small, to some extent, the taste of our meat back home. Like the Obasanjo chickens that we buy there are closer to what we know. You cook it, it does not disintegrate in your pot. You just eat it. Okay, another one I noticed too is egg. In Nigeria, 1 person to 1 egg. Here, 1 person can finish 6 eggs. The egg, you will make it, it will not have weight. But in Nigeria, if you eat 2 eggs, you feel like a gluten. Okay? You feel like a gluten. So, that one of egg, again, okay, in Nigeria, let's say you crack your egg and a small piece of the shell falls inside. To touch that egg, that shell, to bring it out, a Niger egg, used to be so tough for me. Why? Because the viscosity of our egg moves. Like, if you try to touch it, it moves. Like, to catch that thing is so easy. But if it's an American egg, I'm talking about free-range eggs, organic free-range eggs. I'm not even talking about the conventional eggs. Immediately the cracked shell falls in, put your hand, you will go straight. Your hand will go straight to where that thing is, and you bring it out one try. So the density of the eggs here are different from the density of the eggs we eat back home. So, you know what it is, right? If you ask my husband, he would say, how do you make food for this quantity of people? We were still using very natural ways of making foods. Our foods were still very close to nature back home. Even though we use fertilizer, we had not, at that point, I don't know what is obtained now in Nigeria, we had not like started doctoring or fast forwarding or pushing forward the growth of a bunch of things that we ate. And that is why you will see somebody, like now, I'll use myself as an example. When I went home to Nigeria in 2007, when I went home 2007, I lost weight. I spent just 1 month. By the time I came home to the United States, I had shed weight. And you know, it happens to our house girls too. Remember when your house girls go back to their house during Christmas and they come back, they're always looking emaciated. They look emaciated because they are eating, sometimes they eat straight from the farm. And some of us will be eating like fertilizer foods in the town. That is exactly what it is. So sometimes when our people come and be saying, hey, what happened? They are now an Orobo. Orobo, you don't know how much we are putting in effort not to Orobo, but still the environment makes it really hard for us, especially when we say we have to keep eating the kind of foods we eat back home. You know, trying to make those foods here, we end up eating too much carbohydrate. I don't know, the food here easily packs on. And maybe because we are not out in the sun a lot, I cannot say the reason. But the same people who used to say, hey, look how fat you are, when they come, they will now fat past those of us that they were yelling at or yabbing initially. And you know this thing, the reason, you see this in between cultures that I'm doing. Let me tell you the reason why I love this thing I'm doing. When I started this in between cultures, I started it off from Facebook first. A lot of my, our group members were still at home. In their minds, they never conceived that something will ever take them out. It's been years now, probably up to between 7 and 10 years since I started this page. A bunch of them are now in diaspora, be it in the UK, be it in Canada, be it in the US. At the point of, somebody could say, what am I even doing with this channel? You never know tomorrow. Today is one thing, tomorrow something may come up. Maybe you get an admission to come and do your master's abroad. Something will carry you, work, might even carry you, they will post you. Like those people that work in oil companies, some of them got posted to foreign countries. Some may go to France, go to, just somewhere outside of your regular, place where your comfort zone. So this in between cultures is good, important for all of us so that we'll be learning. But however, I know that things have changed a lot in Nigeria. This same name called in between cultures, it turns us into Usu. I'm sorry, Usu is bat. So in between culture is a bat situation. You are not a flying animal. You're not a land animal. You are in between. So what am I saying? When we come here, we are feeling so Nigerian, and we are like trying to teach those that we thought never lived in Nigeria, that that we are more Nigerian than them. And then you go back to Nigeria. Nigerians don't see you as Nigerians anymore. You self don't see yourself as Nigerian because a lot of things have changed. Like the more we stayed here, the more Nigeria transformed. Then in your mind, you're still keeping the old Nigeria you knew when you were there, only for you to go there and be pleasantly surprised. Okay? We'll keep talking. Please interact with me, okay? Write in the comment the kind of stories you would like to hear. I'll be here. I'll try my best, okay, to make sure that I give you what you want. Bye.